Hey guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and today I'm going to show you my October TBR. And I have filmed these videos, these kind of like beginning of the month, end of the month videos, out of order. So I don't really know at this point what will have gone up, because usually I post my TBR before my wrap up and my book haul, but September sucks for reading, basically, and I didn't read a lot for a number of reasons that I will go into in my wrap-up video. If it's already up, I'll link it down below. If it's not, it's coming soon. But September wasn't a great month for reading, and just kind of not really a great month in general. So I read 5 books and I DNF'd 2. I did not really get to my TBR. I had this amazing TBR set, and I had so many amazing new releases that I was looking forward to. It was gonna be such a good reading month, and then it totally fell flat. So a lot of these books, if you have seen my September TBR, which I'll link down below, will look really familiar. However, there are some new additions to this list. There are some familiar books on this list. So the books that I have already talked about in my September TBR, I will breeze through, and I'll go over the books that are new to this TBR in a little bit more detail. So let's get started. I have 12 books on this TBR, and I'd say that probably 4 of them are new. So I'll go ahead and talk about those first. The very first book that I have on my TBR is a book that I'm currently reading. And in fact, it's the only book I'm currently reading, which is a big change from September when I was reading a million things at once and nothing was going great. So this first book that I have is Angel Mage by Garth Nix. I am really excited for this. I read Sabriel earlier this year, which I think is the book that he's probably best known for. He's really well known for his Abhorsen series, and that's the first book in that series. And I loved it. I adored it. So I was very excited to hear that he was publishing a standalone adult fantasy book. I believe it's his first adult fantasy book ever, and it comes out on the 17th of October from Glance here in the UK. And I was super intrigued. I am currently reading this. I'm about 50 pages in, and it's one of those books, I think, that he really throws you in the deep end, and you have to kind of sink or swim. You have to figure out what the heck is going on. Things are starting to come together now. It's a little bit less confusing, but I am really enjoying this. Scottish husband and I are tomorrow, as of the filming of this video, going to be going off to Alton Towers, which is a theme park here in the UK, for his birthday. It's several months too late, but that's okay. And this is going to be the book that I bring with me for the train and for kind of our downtime after we've been running around and going on roller coasters all day. So I'm really excited to read this. It's a big book. It is 540 something pages long, but it is like, it's quite big type. I don't know if you can see that. So I don't think it's actually going to take me as long as I think. I am breezing through it pretty quickly. I've not been reading it a whole lot, but I have been kind of dipping in and out of it the past couple of days. I think this is going to be a really fun one. Another new book that I have on this TBR that was not in my September TBR is The Queen of Crows by Mike Cole. This is the second book in his Sacred Throne trilogy of novellas. This is quite a tiny book. I think it's, how long is it? 250 pages. So maybe this is like slightly longer than a novella. It might be like short novel length, but I read The Armored Saint back in the spring, and I really, really enjoyed it. This is the second book, as I say, and I believe the third book comes out this month. I should check on that because I have it pre-ordered. It would be nice to know when that's actually coming, but this is a really kind of very grim, very gritty fantasy series that follows a young woman named Eloise, and she is sort of a very poor resident of a particular village that is descended upon by this kind of like fanatical religious order. It's a wild book. That first one, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to the second one and seeing how her adventure unfolds. I do think, with some reflection, because my book club did read the first book at some point during the summer after I had read it, and I had some time to reflect on it. I think that some of my thoughts for the first book will kind of my feelings will depend on how things play out in the second one. So this should be a really interesting read. I am very much looking forward to this. I really like Mike, I really like his writing, and I enjoy his Twitter shenanigans with Chuck Wendig and Sam Sykes, which is how I discovered pretty much all of them. So I think this is going to be a really fun read. Fun might not be the right word. It's going to be a really good read. It's going to be really grim though. The next book that I have on my list of books to read this month is The Travelling Cat Chronicles. This is by Hiro Arikama. This is the book that was sent to me by Osusume Books, which is a book subscription service that sends a Japanese book in translation every month, and I'll link them down below and everything. They sent me a coupon code for you guys to use if you're interested. I talked about them a little bit more in my book haul video, so again, if that is up, I will go ahead and link it down below, but I really, really love my experience with them, and this sounds really, really good. They sent it with a note, and it follows a character named Nana, who is a cat. It just looks like a lovely book. Apparently this author is known for their kind of light novels, which is a genre of Japanese novels that are often sci-fi or adventure that are loved by a young audience. They had me at cat, honestly, but this book sounds awesome. I'm really looking forward to this. This is another shorter book. It looks like it's just shy of 250 pages, so this will be a really good one for this month. I also have another book that I hauled this month. This is The Future of Another Timeline by Annalee Newitz. Annalee Newitz wrote a book, I believe, called Autonomous, which was so aggressively on my radar, but for some reason I never bought, I never read, nothing like that. So when I found out they were writing another book, I immediately took the opportunity to go ahead and request it. This sounds amazing. It's set in like a parallel world in which time travel is possible, and there is a radical group that is going back and trying to do away with women's rights, and if they do this, there will be a very kind of small elite group of people who control the past, the present, and the future. It sounds really good. This sounds like a fantastic way for me to get back to sci-fi, because I love sci-fi so much, but I've been such a fantasy phase lately, and I think that this is going to be exactly the thing that I need to break that reading slump that I've had, which is pretty much gone, but I feel like I'm craving different books right now, things that are different from fantasy. This is going to be perfect, and this comes out in October, so it's even better. This next large set of books are all books that I'm rolling over for my September TBR. So if you would like to hear a little bit more about these books, you can go ahead and check out that video. I'm just going to rattle through them really quickly because I've technically already done this. So the first book is Deep Light by Frances Harding. I love Frances Harding, even though I've only read one of her books. I'm super excited for this. This comes out on the 31st of October from Pan Macmillan, so I definitely want to read it this month. Have Into the Crooked Place by Alexandra Christo, who wrote a book called To Kill Kingdom, which I haven't read yet but is on my shelf. This comes out on the 8th of October from Hotkey Books here in the UK, and it's a YA fantasy book. It looks like it's a book that's got a squad. It's going to be really exciting, and I believe it is the first book in a new duology. The next book I won from a Twitter competition. This is The Blackhawks by David Raig. This is giving me some serious Kings of the Wild vibes, and I've been hearing really amazing things about this from friends who have already read it. This comes out from Harper Voyager in the UK on the 8th of October. Then I have The Memory Thief by Lauren Mancy. This comes out from Blink, which I believe is a imprint of HarperCollins here in the UK. I think that this is the American arc, as a lot of these ones from this particular publisher tend to be. It says it goes on sale on the 1st of October. I'm gonna need to double check that because I'm not 100% sure, but this is a YA fantasy in which I believe memories are used like as a currency, and of course it's a horrible dark underworld, and our main character is going to uncover things that perhaps she shouldn't know. I don't know a huge amount about this one, but it looks really good, and I love this cover so much. And of course we have The Whispers of War by Julia Kelly, also known as my sister. This comes out in January in the US and the UK. One of the benefits of being related to an author is that you get their new book early. I really want to read this month if I can. I know it comes out in January, but Scottish Husband's already read it, and that really annoys me that he's read it before me, so I have to go ahead and catch up. But I am totally biased. I love Julia's books. This is World War II set historical historical fiction. It's got a dual timeline. I really loved her other book called The Light Over London. Again, super biased. She wouldn't even let me rate it on Goodreads. But I am super pumped for this. I really enjoy her writing style and I find her books really easy to read. Then I have The Song of the Crimson Flower by Julie C. Doubt, who is one of my auto-buy authors. I am so excited to have this book in my hands. I'm so pumped. This comes out from Philomel Books in November in the US and the 1st of December in the UK. I believe this is loosely connected to her Rise of the Empress duology, which is fantastic. It's so good if you guys haven't read it yet. It's YA fantasy and I believe it is has a strong romance plot. Our main characters are two people who are in love and I believe the female character who's quite wealthy jilts the male character who is poor. That's really all I know. It's really all I need to know because I love her books so much. Really excited to read this. I have Kingdom of Souls by Raina Barron. This is one that I'm borrowing from my lovely friend Judith from Dead Good Book Reviews, whose channel you should totally check out if you haven't already because she is so good at this stuff. But she won a copy of this at Yelk, finished it, and let me borrow it. I have been having some trouble with YA fantasy lately. I don't know what it is. I talk about this a little bit in my wrap-up, or my book haul, I think. But I haven't really consistently read YA fantasy since the spring. I'm hoping that this will maybe break that spell. I don't really know, but this looks really good. I've heard great things about it so far, and it's one I'm really looking forward to. This came out in September from Harper Voyager. The last book that I have is one that's sort of fallen off my list of priorities a little bit, unfortunately. I meant to read this in September when it came out, and I just didn't get the chance to do that and it really sucks. But this is Brightfall by Jamie Lee Moyer. This is a Robin Hood continuation. It's not a retelling. And I've heard mixed things about this one. I think it really depends on what you want from the story. So I'm going in with kind of leveled expectations, but I'm thinking that this is one I'm gonna really enjoy when I get the chance to read it. So that's my TBR for the month of October. Again, it's a lot of stuff that I'm rolling over from the previous month, but I have so many good books on my September TBR and I didn't want them to kind of like just get shelved and then never looked at again, which does sometimes tend to happen. I would love to know if you have a TBR for the month of October, what you're planning on reading. If you've read some of these books, if they're in your TBR, let me know. I post bookish content to this channel fairly frequently, so go ahead and hit subscribe, check back soon, and I will see you next time.